Hi, my name is Judith Bowers and this is the Britannia Panopticon, my Glasgow. I came to Glasgow in 1991 and this was one of the very first buildings I encountered. Glasgow's history is sexy, bizarre, it's sometimes twisted, saucy, it's sassy, weird, horrible, naughty, it's funky, mysterious, funny, obscure, intriguing, thrilling, revolutionary, vile. It's unusual and at times extremely obscure. And that's what I'm interested in about Glasgow, the strange, the interesting and the revolutionary history of this city. In fact, Glasgow's history is unique and it spiders out across the world, leaving the Glasgow effect everywhere it touches. But don't be afraid, it'll all be wonderful fun. Today we are in Glasgow's world-famed Panopticon. Now, the Panopticon actually opened in 1857 as the Britannia Music Hall, and today it's the oldest surviving music hall in the world, and for some very peculiar reasons. Music hall was a very particular type of entertainment. It was really aimed at the working classes. Now, most early music halls were evolutions from pubs. They were essentially back rooms of public houses and had more in common with karaoke than they did with theatrical performances as we know today. However, this music hall wasn't behind a pub, it was above a pub. And that meant that when a gentleman needed to urinate, it wasn't so easy for him to get outside into the lane and do so. In here, they had to fight through a crowd of 1,500 people, so they didn't bother. They just urinated where they stood. And this building, as a result, was too saturated to ignite when all the others burnt down across the UK. Let me tell you about what went on in here. The audience that came in here were from the working classes. So they came here not just to be entertained, but to blow off steam. Boys in the balcony would urinate over the edge onto the act on the stage below. We had men in the darkest corner where they would resort to their duties. That was a Victorian term for a working girl. And then over in that section of the balcony, that's where we had the women and children being entertained, the small babies on their mother's knees. And they all brought their own ammunition. Boys would bring horse manure, men shipyard rivets, punchings, nails and screws, and women would bring in fish heads and fish guts. But what were the acts on stage? We had dancers, acrobats, singers, comedians, all sorts of novelty acts like the great fartistes. But most famously of all, Stan Laurel made his debut in this very building in 1906, aged just 16 years old. This building is absolutely crammed with history. There are so many wonderful stories to tell about Glasgow's history, and I am so looking forward to sharing them with you. So I hope you'll tune in again soon and see me on the Riverside Show.